Why is it that Muslims have failed to react to the most horrific oppression they have faced? What's stopping Muslims from taking a stand? What psychological issues were involved in their pacification? How could these heinous crimes have been committed with minimal or no reaction from the Ummah? How can something so horrific happen and yet many Muslims do not think they should do something? Why have they become so comatose, so pacified and unwilling to react? This was not a normal human being's reaction. This abnormality was a condition of the state of a broken mind, a mind that was conditioned abnormally to sit passively and not act. How could it be explained? Do only the Muslims react in this way? How could any of us understand a nationwide mental state that had gripped our minds as one to allow such barbarity and do nothing about it? How did the Americans react when they were attacked? Did they sit around and allow this brutality that you've just seen in countries across the world? This is far less than what we've gone through. Didn't they bomb your countries? And they're still bombing them. Afghanistan, Iraq, 2 million dead alone. When a free man is attacked, a free man does not sit passively. You attack free men. They don't consider themselves as slaves because look how differently they reacted. They made us pay, didn't they? And we are still paying because the slave doesn't take a free man's freedom away. Every one of us paid for 9/11, not just the perpetrators. Free men don't allow slaves to take away their freedom without fighting back. Free men value their lives. Look at the UK's reaction to halal meat. The country was outraged. They are more outraged at halal meat than you are to the enslavement of your own father or brother. Here is the 9/11 memorial. There is a memorial for everyone who died that day. The names of nearly 3,000 men, women and children killed in the attacks of September 11th. Now you tell me, where there is a memorial for the dead people of Afghanistan, where are their names? Where are their names written? The people of Iraq, the people of Palestine, you can't name one. They remember their people because a free man knows that a human being has a value, a life has a value. He remembers his people and he makes sure the whole world remembers his people. You, a slave, has no value because deep down you don't value yourself. Deep down you are a slave yourself. You don't say it, you don't even consciously know it. How else can you explain that when a Jewish person dies, the whole world has to remember them, but when millions of Muslims die, you don't remember them? You, a slave, has no value for your brother. You don't even know how many are dead, let alone their names. After all, what is the value of the life of one slave to another slave? The answer goes back to the times of colonization when they conquered your lands and colonized you. In the time of colonialism, they conquered our lands using brute violence. They slaughtered anyone who resisted. The average death rate for people who fought the colonizer was 100 to 1, according to research by Brzezinski. They killed anyone who resisted them. To resist was to have a death sentence. They used violence to completely destroy the nation and get it on its knees, to make you a physical slave. They conditioned the man who was no longer able to physically stand up for himself and reprogrammed that slave, and told them what the normal way to think is. They control the black slave both by violence and by mentally destroying their ability to understand. They killed their forefathers and controlled their children through violence. They took away their story, their narrative, their knowledge. They taught them things that would deliberately undermine their society, destroy their psychological makeup, make them unable to take a stand against them. Let us look at how they use words and images to make the black man mentally feel inferior. Slaves had no physical power to resist. Any sort of resistance would lead to the most brutal punishment. There was no question of the black man having a say in the matter. He was force-fed the belief that he was inferior. Every image of him was negative. Those that were positive made him into a clown, a harmless figure, eager to please the white master. A childlike figure, where often white children were more adults and reflective than a black slave was. They set the frame, they set the terms and conditions of that frame. You had the option of the two identities. The evil, violent, dangerous, backward savage, which they, the oppressor, had conditioned the masses to fear and accept the destruction of. Or the harmless, mindless, childlike black man, a boy in a man's body, unthreatening, happy and eager to please his white master. Black slaves knew the frame that was seen as dangerous for them. They tried to run as far as they could from the negative frame of uppity Negro. They knew there was a consequence if you were in the wrong frame. They would pay the price with their life. This happened around the world. It was a frame given to all colonized people. Look at India. Serve, be a loyal servant to the master, live in servitude, and never complain about the favors given to you. Or that same kind benevolent master would put you in the other frame, the frame of the dangerous. They used reverse psychology on us. They gave us the frames, extremist, radical, and this frame was dangerous. To be in that group would mean your very life would be in danger, so naturally we didn't want to be in that group. They defined the good and bad, what was acceptable, what was not, what was dangerous and what was not. So we acted in a way that was the exact opposite of the dangerous group.
Every nation in every region now has a decision to make. Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
We wanted to show, just like the black slave wanted to show he was no threat, that we were moderate Muslims. So we acted in a way that was the exact opposite of the dangerous group. They said, "You're one of those, aren't you?" And you said, No, boss, I'm not one of those." You became totally passive to prove that you weren't aggressive, because there was a price to pay for being aggressive. You showed the world I am harmless, that I'm a boy. As long as good Negro is up there, nothing bad can happen to the Negroes on the plantation. To the point that they could kill you and do the most barbaric acts on the face of this earth, and instead of reacting to these atrocities, you were too busy saying, "I am harmless." It was reverse psychology. They could do whatever they wanted as long as the wolf complained that the sheep had horns. The sheep was too busy trying to rub those horns away and convince the world it wasn't dangerous. It was ludicrous. It was madness that a wolf complained that the sheep had horns. We were in such a mental state that we had not realized the tricks used on us by our colonial masters. What do you see here? This is not by chance. This hatred is being spread daily to thousands of people.
So, Mark, we've been having a debate throughout the show whether or not Islam somehow lends itself to more extremism than other religions, and whether or not moderate Muslims are doing enough to speak out about it, and when they are.
Ask yourself, why are they doing it? What will be the outcome of this? What will be the consequences of these ideas if this hatred is left unchallenged? Our aim is to make you think. When you begin to think, you begin to see the world differently. You begin to see where the sickness of your people lies. You begin to see the image and the narrative of yourself you have come to believe laid out by your very oppressor. More importantly, you begin to see the image of your oppressor defined by himself, because he is a free man.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head?
When the black slave was told of this, he started to act like a man again. He stopped being defined by what his oppressor demanded he be. And that's how they gained their freedom, by acting like free men, creating their own frames, their own story.
This society where you still own the government, you still own the train station, the railroad plant, the lecture plant, these television cameras, you still make all the food, you control everything, and I'm like a leech on a dog's back. All I can do is just wait for you. I can't do nothing for myself. Integrating in your society don't mean I'm doing nothing for myself. You doing it all. I want to do something for myself. I'm tired of depending on you.
He stopped being defined by his oppressor. When the free man tells his story, he begins to resist. When will you be free? When will you stand up? When will you stop being defined by your oppressor? When will you use your own frames and tell your own story? God had already told you not to be a slave and to stand up for your freedom. Hundreds of years of being a slave to this game they played against us, and one verse from the Quran would have freed us.